Hi, I'm Sheryce Watson, and I've been through the menopause roller coaster. Welcome to But My Vagina Still Works, the podcast, mental well-being and lifestyle changes. Hi, welcome back to But My Vagina Still Works, the podcast, mental well-being and lifestyle changes. I'm your host, Sheryce Watson, and I want to say thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a minute, and I'm working on being more consistent with my episodes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you will know the next time I'm here. This podcast was created because I found it easier or better to be able to express myself in this space of a podcast versus online trying to talk to women about certain subjects that are a little controversial. So I created the podcast because I want to connect with women going through post and perimenopause to help them know about holistic solutions that are in my journal, But My Vagina Still Works, and share them with you here on the podcast. Now, today, we're going to be talking about something very interesting. And I want to let you know that this conversation could be a little controversial to some people, but keep an open mind because I may say something that could change your life and make your menopause journey a lot easier. So listen up. Today, we're going to have one of the most important conversations I've ever had on this platform in this space. We're diving into the science that proves what so many of us have felt for a long time, that cannabis, rest, relaxation, and reconnection are not vices. They're medicine. For years, we were told our bodies were broken after menopause, that we were dry, moody, done. But what if what's really happening is that one of the most beautiful systems inside of us, the endocannabinoid system, is calling out for support? Let's talk about what that means, how estrogen ties in, and why this knowledge was hidden for so long from us. Now take a deep breath. This is science, yes, but it's also spiritual truth. It's the body remembering itself. Let's rewind a bit. Let's go back to the 1800s and the early 1900s. Cannabis tinctures were on pharmacy shelves right next to aspirin and valerian. Doctors prescribed it for pain, insomnia, menstrual cramps, anxiety, and what they called female troubles. Now, they didn't always use the word menopause. That language evolved later. But those symptoms were the same ones that we deal with today: sleepless nights, hot flashes, irritability, and body aches. Some of the earliest menopause journals talks about cannabis, indica, being calming to the nervous system. This was also information in medical journals. And cannabis was also useful in cases of uterine irritation. In 1889, a physician named John Farlow wrote about using cannabis suppositories with belladonna for gynecological relief. So it was known, it was trusted, and it worked. But by the 1930s, the truth became inconvenient. America was changing politically, racially, economically, and the same plant that had been medicine was suddenly painted as a menace. The marijuana menace, the killer weed. Propaganda connected it to Mexican laborers and to Black jazz musicians. to loose women. There's even a whole documentary on Netflix about how cannabis was demonized because of Black jazz musicians, and then later on, Black rappers. So it's a lot of propaganda. And the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 criminalized it. Then in 1970, the Controlled Substance Act, also called cannabis a Schedule I drug, meaning no accepted medical use, which we know was never true. But think about what that meant for women. A plant that could ease our anxiety, our pain, our sleepless nights, suddenly erased from medicine because of politics, racism, and fear. Now let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body. The endocannabinoid system, also called the ECS, is one of the most important systems you have, but most of us never heard of it until recently. It's made up of receptors called CB1 and CB2, which are like tiny locks waiting for keys. Endocannabinoids, which are the keys your body naturally makes, and enzymes, which create and break them down to keep balance. Your ECS helps regulate sleep, mood, memory, appetite, inflammation, pain, and even sexual function. Now, think about what I just said. Those things that I listed, how important are they in your day to day life? Regulating your sleep, mood, memory, appetite, inflammation, pain, and sexual function. It's like your internal thermostat, always adjusting to keep you in balance. And here's where it gets fascinating. Estrogen and the ECS are deeply connected. When estrogen levels are high, like during your reproductive years, your ECS is vibrant. Your brain CB1 receptors are active. Your endocannabinoid levels are balanced. And your body feels steady. But when estrogen starts to drop during perimenopause and menopause, everything shifts. Everything. Those same receptors become less responsive. The enzymes that break down your natural cannabinoids start working overtime, which means your internal balance system gets weaker. So the symptoms we blame on just getting older, anxiety, insomnia, body pain, mood swings, are often signs that our ECS isn't getting what it needs anymore. And that's where cannabis comes in. Phyto-cannabinoids, the ones from the plant, can step in and activate those same receptors our own cannabinoids used to feel. They can calm the nervous system. They can ease inflammation, help you sleep, lift your mood, and yes, even ignite desire. Trust me on that. It's not about getting high. It's about getting home, back to yourself. So if this is real science, why don't most doctors talk about it? Because medical systems follow money and policy, not always biology. Once cannabis was outlawed, it was removed from the U.S. pharmacopoeia. Research funding disappeared. Doctors stopped being taught about the ECS. And by the time it was rediscovered in the 1990s, entire generations of medical professionals had graduated without ever hearing a word about the endocannabinoid system. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical companies had new tools for women to sell, like hormone therapy, antidepressants, sleep aids, pain pills. And don't get me wrong, some of those can help, but none of them speak the same language your body does naturally. The ECS is your internal communication network. When we feed it plants, especially plants like cannabis, full of cannabinoids and terpenes, we're speaking the body's native language. And maybe that's why it's so easy to suppress, because women who understand their own biology, who can soothe themselves naturally, that's a woman that can't be easily controlled. Let's bring it down to real life. Whether you use cannabis or not, there are ways to nourish your endocannabinoid system every single day. So let's talk about that. Movement, yoga, walking, dance keeps your ECS active. Omega-3 fatty acids from foods like hemp seed, flax seeds, and walnuts can help build endocannabinoids. Meditation and breath work raise natural anandamide, that bliss molecule. Your brain loves it. Good sleep and community connection boosts ECS balances too. So if you are not at a place where you can explore cannabis, maybe it's not legal in your state or not easy to obtain, there are other ways to strengthen your endocannabinoid system, those that I just mentioned. So this isn't just about the plant. It's about remembering how to care for your system as a whole woman. And if you do choose to use cannabis, start mindfully. Microdose, journal your reactions, track your moods, sleep, and sensuality. Notice how your body communicates back to you, because it will. When I first began learning about the ECS system, it felt like God had left us a map, one we are never taught about how to read. A system that literally exists to keep us balanced through every hormonal storm and shift. That's why I call menopause the sacred pause. Not an ending, but a realignment. And the endocannabinoid system is one of the keys to that realignment. So here's what I want you to remember today. You're not broken. You're not crazy. You're not done. Your body has an entire system designed to help you transition gracefully. But society hid it from you. Now we're remembering, we're reclaiming, and we're speaking its language again. Cannabis isn't the enemy, ignorance is. And when we bring the science back into our self-care, we bring power back into our hands, because our vagina still works, our minds still shine, and our spirits still grow. I'm Sheryce Watson, and this has been But My Vagina Still Works, the podcast. If this episode spoke to you, share it, start a conversation, and next time we'll talk about how food, yes, food, what's on your plate, can feed your endocannabinoid system too. We'll talk about the Kitchen Alchemy Cookbook that's coming out with many phytoestrogen food recipes that will help you mimic the effects of estrogen. We'll talk about that next time. So please join us. Until then, Breathe deep, love yourself, and honor your sacred pause because everything is greater later. Thanks for tuning in to But My Vagina Still Works, the podcast, mental well-being and lifestyle changes. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Also, don't forget to pick up a copy of But My Vagina Still Works. You can get it from Amazon and in ebook form on Beacons AI. And join the Menopause Warriors every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on TikTok Live. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast because everything is greater later.